Hello students, today we are going to learn about static keyword. Now we already know that there are two components of a class. There are either variables or there are methods. And both of them, the variables and the methods can be used as static and non-static. Till now we have been using non-static only. That means we have never used static keyword anywhere. Yes, you have been using static with the main function, yes, but you don't actually know what static means. Now today we are going to learn what it actually means. Now, when we create instance variables, we create like this. We say private int num. Okay, so that means this becomes an instance variable. Now, this variable num, that is that variable that has been created, will be created with and for each instance of a class. That means it will be created with an object of the class and for each object of the class. That means if I have no object, num will not be there at all. And if I have five objects, each one of them will have their own num. So that means you understand that the instance variables, which are non-static, they are all created with the objects and they belong to the objects. And whenever we create methods, we create them like this. We say public void show function. We don't never write static over there. And this will be described a little later. Static variables can be created like this. Now, instead of just writing private int number, we say private static int number. So that means now number becomes a static variable. It does not remain an instance variable. It is not an instance variable anymore because we have used the keyword static over here. Okay. Now the keyword static indicates that the variable number will be created only once. That means it will not be created with objects. They don't belong to objects, they belong to the class. That is why these are called as class variables. Now let us understand the difference between a static variable and an instance variable. So when we create a static variable, only one variable is created for the entire class. Does not matter whether there is one object created, 500 objects created, or no object created. Only one variable will be created if we create it as static. And if we create an instance variable, this is created for each object. So that means if I don't create an object, no instance variable will be created. So if I create five objects, five instance variables will be created, one for each one of those instance variables. Now, static variable is created even if there is no object. So that means even if there is no object, static variable will still be created because it actually belongs to the class. The class is there, no? So class is there, so the static variables are also there, and the instance variables are created only when the objects are created. Now, very important, static can be accessed by using class name. Okay, so that means if I want to use a variable number which belongs to demo class, I can access it using demo.number. And instance variable can be accessed only by using the object name. So if I create an object called p1, so I'll say p1.num or something like that if it is accessible outside. And lastly, this belongs to the class and this belongs to an object. Very important. This is the keyword that you should be using. That means this is very important. The static variable belongs to the class and instance variable belongs to an object. Now, this is all that you need to know about static, class, or variables as far as your syllabus is concerned. You will not be required to create any programs using static variables. Okay, so no programs in your subjective will be asked for about this. So that means static remains a part of your maybe output, maybe only definition. That is all. Okay. I have okay. I've created some programs here, and let us understand it. Uh, Now let us look at static methods. The static methods can access only the static variables and static methods. Simply put, if something is static, it can be accessed. It can access only static. So the static methods can access only static variables. Let us understand by using this class. This class is called as number, and there are two variables. One is an instance variable because we have not written static, So inum is an instance variable num, and snum is a static variable num, snum. Okay. Now we create a method which is static first, and you can see that it can access only snum. So system.out.println snum, this is fine. Inum, it will not, it cannot access. So that means because this is a static method, it can access only the static variable. And lastly, there is a function method called display method, which is non-static. Okay, which is non-static, and you can see that this can access both. Okay, this can access both. Now, uh, I'm creating another class which is actually using number class, and in which I have written the main method. In the first line, it says number.show function. So that means I'm accessing the show function from number class. And because show function is actually a static method, I can access it using the class name. Now I create the NB, an object called NB, and I can say NB.display method because display method is actually non-static, so it needs an object to access it. So I will use NB.display method. And I can use nb.show function. Show function, although it is static, I can use it using an object. But as I've written, you can just go through this. It is stupid to use an object name because it actually belongs to the class. So when I want to access show function, you will actually be using a class name rather than an object name. If an object name is available, it can access the static method also. Now, very important is static can access only static, non-static can access anything. So this is something which you need to remember. You need to mark this up. Okay. Um, you have been using these static methods. Like for example, you have been using methods called math.ceil function, math.floor function, integer.parseInt function. You can see that this math and integer, these are not actually objects. So because these are classes and I am accessing a method using a class name, parseInt method must be a static method. Floor method must be a static method. Ceil function must be a static method. So that is why I'm using. So because see, why do we create static methods is basically we are not interested in objects at all. I'm interested only in some processing to be done. So when I use a floor method or when I use a parseInt method, I'm not interested in creating an object and doing something with an object. I'm just interested in just converting a string into an integer. So, okay, that is all in this class. I have given you some links. Just please go to those links and just check them out. Okay, how Oracle has arranged these methods. So I've just given some links. Just go through them, and you will find that the seal method, which I've just described here, is actually is public static double seal method. So that means the seal method is a static method. Floor method is also a static method. Now you can do the rest. I've just given you something to read. Um, and as I've already told you that in the subjective part of of your examination, uh, you will not be required to use static at all. Okay. Okay. Now, very important, all the class-based programs, you will create all methods as non-static. All instance variables should be non-static. You will create only the same number of instance variables as asked in the program. Although this does not actually belong to this class, you've already done this. I'm just explaining it again. Okay, you need to just go through the rest of the stuff that I've given over here. Just go through them. Wherever I have said find, please find. Wherever I've said check out, please check out. Okay, so I've given it at a number of places, and just go and do some research. Thank you for watching. Just go through this link when you are through.